जयपुर वाया कोटा।
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೈ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो.
Welcome back to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher. I was sitting here all ready to say that it's all smooth sailing for Gujarat, but just then Shubman Gill got out. So we don't know where that game's going to go. Michael Vaughan thinks it's a game on. It sure is a game on, but we have another game on the cards today. So we have to quickly move on to the other game. We will be giving you all updates on what's happening with the Gujarat KKR game. But the game on the cards right now is Delhi versus Hyderabad. And in Delhi, it's a copy-paste because they've played against each other just 5 days ago. It wasn't the most exciting game then, but they'll be coming back, hopefully putting on a more exciting game right now.
Glad you said it wasn't an exciting game and didn't try to make something out of nothing. It wasn't at all. It was. We went through a phase. There was a Delhi KKR game, a Delhi Sunrisers game, where both teams are playing not too well, and the team that played less badly was actually the team that ended up winning. I mean, Delhi are on a, they've what, won 2 in a row? Mm-hmm. They've got to lift themselves up from the bottom. I think it's a good toss to win if it's really as the pitch report says it is, which is dry and devoid of grass. So Sunrisers batting first might actually help them. I've been talking about Akil Hussain for a while. I think he's a good player. So Akil Hussain is playing for the Sunrisers.
But Delhi's won the toss and...
Or the other way.
Or Sunrisers have won the toss. I
yeah.
got a little confused because but Sunrisers have won the toss and they have decided to bat first. We can see that turning around at the midway point of the IPL where they're winning tosses and now batting first with those tired pitches.
Yeah, I mean, two teams are struggling really. I mean, Delhi won the last two. Sunrisers with all the talent. Right at the start of the tournament, there's quite a few people saying, "Wait a minute, look at that!"
My top four.
Well, and understandably, because they've got everything covered. But for whatever reason, they've not really played with any kind of freedom. They all look like they're scratching around. Harry Brook got 100, but apart from that, nothing. They all look like when they're batting, particularly someone like Harry Brook, who's a pure player. I'm seeing too much movement around the crease. He's panicking a little bit. You know, a dot ball, and then you can see that he's a young lad in a huge tournament, and he's panicking a little bit. He's gone for a huge amount of money, and I see that in a lot of their players. I see a lot of their players just panicking. They don't seem to be playing with a confidence, which happens when you're losing, and obviously you get a couple of low scores and the pressure builds. But I think of all the teams, I would say the Sunrisers are the most disappointing with the group of players that they've got.
And today it almost feels like it's Sunrisers playing ex-Sunrisers because there's so many Sunrisers, ex-Sunrisers in the DC team.
It's not as bad as Lucknow and Punjab though, because no one knows who's Lucknow, who's Punjab. They've been interchanging so often. But David Warner came to Hyderabad and it was like he was playing a home game again. I know he's playing for the Delhi Capitals, but they absolutely love him there. Now, of course, back in Delhi. But yeah, there have been a few who've gone the other way.
You know, Harsha, yesterday Michael wasn't here, but I was talking about how sport is one of the biggest teachers. Well, it is one of the biggest teachers, but sport can also be very brutal and it can be very cruel because there's so much pressure, there's so much anticipation on players that some might crumble, but not the men of platinum. The men of platinum do not crumble. Through the IPL, we've celebrated many men of platinum who've shown values such as courage, hard work, resilience, perseverance, and many more, and they've inspired us. And one such man of platinum today is somebody who's gone through his ups and downs, but he's come out stronger. And I'm talking about the DC captain, David Warner. Warner's gone through those ups and downs. He's shown courage because he's made mistakes in his life, but he's apologized and come out stronger. That's what I really appreciate about Warner.
Look, he's been one of Australia's top red ball openers. And he scored runs everywhere. You didn't get that feeling when you saw him in England last time, but he scored runs everywhere. And in the IPL, he's a genuine great. We all talk about Chris Gayle. His numbers are actually better than Chris Gayle. I know Chris Gayle had an impact, he hit a lot of sixes. But even at the IPL, he had that dip and then he's come back strong. I think he'll be a good... I thought he'll be a very good captain for Delhi. I still think he can pick them up. But yeah, those qualities that you look for, that you mentioned, men of platinum, I think it's fair to say that David would fit into that category. They love him in the IPL.
You know, Michael, he really has his characters as rare as platinum because he's somebody who was I can say at the twilight of his career, not too many people expected too much, but he's come back into that test squad now. So he's...
Yeah, I mean, David Warner is a man of platinum. He's got a huge amount of courage, opening the batting in all formats of the game for such a long period of time. There's not that many that really master all the formats, you know. But I think Warner is one of those players that he could, you know, whenever he ends his career, and that I would think his international days might come to an end sooner rather than later. But I'm sure he'll play franchise cricket for a little bit longer. Whenever it finishes, he will be able to look back at his career and say, yeah, I was a T20, very good player. 50 over, very good player. Test, very good player. You know, and Australia have produced many great batters over the years, and many opening batters. You know, Hayden Langer, who come to my mind now, but I think Warner mixes with them. I really do. I think Warner mixes with those two names in the era that we've watched in the last 20, 30 years. I really do think Warner's up there with the best. So yeah, he'll be disappointed with Delhi this year. He'll be disappointed that he's not been able to galvanise them and
But in
get
spite
them
of
winning.
that, his personal numbers, he's in the top 5 orange cap. I think he's at number 5, but his numbers seem very good in spite of not having the best season.
Yeah, I just look at his strike rate. When Warner's at his best, he strikes at 140, 150. You know, he's had to play within himself because wickets have been falling at the other end. But, you know, still, 306. This is the orange cap debate, really, because how much of an impact has he had? You know, that strike rate needs to be up for David. When David Warner's on his kind of prime kind of form, he's striking at 150 easy.
Yeah, but there's something about David Warner which I find very inspiring, is that he accepts his mistakes. In 2013, he was somebody who was pretty aggressive, if I can say, and it was his wife, Candice, who brought the change in his life. So thank you, Candice, if you're listening.
He's not the only one whose life has got changed marrying the right girl.
There's always a woman behind a successful man, isn't there? But
Interesting, you should say behind. I thought you would say alongside or in front.
yeah, but yeah,
It's an old expression. Forget it.
But moving on to the game, because, Hyderabad is batting first, and considering they're batting first, my question is going to go straight to Mr. Michael Vaughan. Michael, your young boy who's so talented is just not being managed, he's just not managed with that one great 100, but everything is turned around. The batting order is just moving around in order to make Brook go and play at the top of the order. He needs to come and shine.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, and particularly easier said than done from sat on a sofa many miles away. But I just want him to relax. You know, I just want him to just chill. You know, it's the IPL. You don't have to be dashing, you know, outside leg stump to whack over the offside. You don't have to be dashing down. He's got such a pure game. You saw that in the 100 that he scored. You've seen that for all the runs that he scored for England. But this is different pressure. You know, T20 cricket does bring different pressure because every top ball builds more pressure, and you're thinking of boundaries, particularly in those first 6. I'm surprised with. You could actually identify Harry Brook moving to the top of the order as of where Sunrisers have gone wrong, because they paid all the money for him to bat at 4 and 5. Yet somewhere they've gone open the batting with him. He's never opened in his life.
I think the reason is he struggled against spin. And so they thought maybe he'll destroy the new ball, go and play really well against pace. And I was at that game in Kolkata where his strike rate against pace was 250, against spin was 100. So I think they thought they'll push him up.
Do you think they've been surprised that because playing for England over the last 6, he's been a brilliant player of spin.
Yeah.
You know, in Pakistan, he just smashed them to
He
wallpaper.
said to me that was the matchup they used against me, bowling spin to me. I think it's not as much spin as the slowness of the surfaces that is preventing his natural aggressive style of stroke play. Now on this surface, it's a little, from what we're reading, it's a slightly slow surface. So he'll have his job cut out. My feeling is at the end of the IPL, either he'll go back to England a far better player on slowish pitches. Remember, England are coming in a couple of years to play 5 test matches here. Or he'll go with his mind thinking, oh, these slow pitches, I don't know how to play on them. So
He'll be frazzled.
Yeah, I'd like to know what kind of, I don't know him, so I'd like to know what kind of player he is.
But it is interesting when you pay so much money for a player.
That pressure must be getting to these young
100%.
boys.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of money for a young player. He's only just really started. You know, he's flown out the blocks in the last few months. From, you know, say a year ago, if you said Harry Brook would have gone for, I think he went for $1.2 million. I mean, it's a huge amount of money, so that brings expectation. And again, it's easier sat here telling him, but he just needs to just play. Just bat. Just bat. The way that you bat, you'll be fine, but don't panic.
One of the things we tell young players whenever we come across them is you didn't ask for that price. Your base price was 100,000 or whatever. That is what you asked for. Beyond that, you didn't go and say, pay me so much, otherwise I'm not coming. So you don't need to be worried about your price, but it's far easier said than done. All these players, and I'm sure that's going through his mind as well. 1.3 million pounds. Is he going out to bat thinking that's the ball coming at me? Or saying 1.3 million, do I justify myself? What if they let me go next year? Yeah, so it does happen.
Well, it's a little bit of a tricky one here because the power play has been really slow because, there's that one innings that Harry Brook got that big 100. They would want that from them. But no one really has been able to go all guns blazing in the power play because of this whole positioning, moving around that's happening.
Yeah, and losing wickets as well. So, they've not maximised the power play. I'm sure their mindset and I'm sure their team strategy is to really be aggressive. I can't imagine that the strategy is to go and be 36 for 1, 45 for 1. I'm sure the team talk will be the 65 for 2. That is the way that we want to play our cricket. But sometimes it's just not possible. Sometimes you go out there with every intention to be aggressive. Bowling team might do well, lose an early wicket. You start to just panic. They just don't look right. There's something about the Orange team this year. I'm just watching them, and I've watched them right from the first game they played. And it doesn't look right. I mean, you've got a new coach, Brian Lara's a young, he's an elderly kind of persona of the game, but he's a young coach. He hasn't really coached. So I just think they're all trying to find their roles. They're kind of probably trying to find the culture of bringing all these new players together. And that sometimes takes a bit of time.
Diffidence, you think? Because Aiden Markram, everyone who's met Aiden Markram says he's a very good leader. He's very soft-spoken. He's almost too respectful. I don't know Aiden at all, apart from conversations. Sometimes, can you almost be too much of a nice guy as captain?
Oh,
I know one successful captain sitting next to me. He's a decent guy, but I don't think his opponents thought he was a nice guy.
I think you've got to have a little bit of...
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to be nasty, but you have to have a bit of a nasty side to you when you're leading. Yeah. Just so the players know, and everyone knows who's the boss. You are the boss. So if he's softly spoken, it can work. I've seen many captains who have been softly spoken and it's worked because the strategies and the tactics are outstanding. But, you do need a little bit of oomph.
Well, the one person who has the oomph is David Warner. So let's have a look at his team and his playing 11 today. There are quite a few changes because Priyam Garg comes in and Mukesh Kumar comes in. This is their bowling 11. So there will be a batter substitute.
That whole wicket-keeper problem is coming to haunt them again because they'd love to play Rovman Powell there or they'd love to play Riley Russo. Both are really good players. Though maybe not on this track, on the slowish, sluggish track, maybe not so. But because they don't have another keeper. They tried Sarfaraz as keeper, that didn't work. So now one overseas slot is blocked by a keeper. I'd like to see how Salt plays on this kind of track where if indeed the pitch report is accurate, the ball just stopping a little bit and coming. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But I'd like to see Warner come back, get straight out of the blocks and go for it.
You said that one overseas slot has been blocked. And unfortunately, because of that block, their overseas players haven't really performed. Yes, Warner is in that orange cap thing. But if you see Marsh, you see, 2 games for Phil Salt. Russo and Powell have got 3 games each. But they haven't really, like Mayers came and said,
look at those 4.
Yeah.
And you say they've bought really well at the auction. And look at the numbers that they've generated. And as a result, and it's unlike something you'd expect from a Ponting Warner kind of side, they've had so many changes. They've had to make too many changes to their side. It didn't help that Mitch Marsh went away to get married and then he came back and then Riley Russo got a game and he was left out as well. Powell got 1 game, he's left out. So I think there's a bit of uncertainty among the lead players in that side. From the outside, it looks like that.
Yeah, I look at all those 4 players, they're good players, but I think they're more suited to pitches that bounce with a bit of pace. I wouldn't have any of those players in an Indian batters category. Wristy, plays spin nicely. I think if you asked a lot of the spinners, particularly in Delhi where the ball just grips a bit, I don't think they'd be concerned bowling to those 4.
I think the next advance in the IPL has got to be that the franchise makes the kind of tracks that they want to. Because home advantage is a perfectly acceptable part of our game. You don't make one-sided pitches, but home advantage is an acceptable part of our game. Do Kolkata want to play on 190, 200 pitches with the kind of team that they have? Do Delhi actually want to play on slow surfaces? They don't, because the team is built around. They've got Henrik Nokia, they've got a lot of Indian fast bowlers. So I think
what they should do, Delhi should play in Calcutta as a home venue.
Exactly.
Swap because
and they play much better.
Delhi have got a team that would play well at Calcutta because of those pitches, and KKR have got a fantastic spin attack. Would love to play.
So I think the next stage should be you give them the ground sufficiently in advance and say make the kind of tracks you want, Just don't make unplayable 120 kind of tracks, but make the kind of tracks you want, because home advantage is a valid thing.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the tracks, there's somebody who has, bowled pretty well on pretty much all tracks has been Nokia. He's been extremely impressive. He's just been that quick bowler who's you don't want to face, you don't want to get hit by a Nokia ball. His numbers have done him justice as well. So he's been very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had my eyes on the speed gun throughout all the games, but I would say that probably Nokia is the quickest. I don't know anyone that bowls quicker. I mean, he's just...
Umran has bowled a 152, 153,
right,
but consistently on bowling the Yorkers, bowling those balls, Nokia's been fantastic.
Yeah, and he's got good variations. Those Yorkers that he can bowl, he's got the bounce, he's got a few nice slow balls as well. So, yeah, he just needs a little bit of support. Needs a bit of help from his teammates.
He's got that support from Ishant Sharma, but Nokia, when you spoke about him bowling in those Yorkers, I was reading something where he said that, he bowls in that shorter one where he surprises the batsman, but what he really likes to focus on is the follow-up ball. He said because then the follow-up ball, you want to bowl a Yorker, you want to really get it into the toes, and that's when you kind of, can bowl a loosener. The second ball is what he focuses on more than just bowling a short one.
Well, that's you speak to all great bowlers. Doesn't matter what the format, they plan their over, don't they? They bowl a certain ball because there's another ball coming in, and there's another, and then they work their way through the over, and there might be just one ball. They go, this is it. This is the ball that gets the wicket, and that's what great bowlers can do. I don't think he's quite yet in the great category, but he's certainly got a chance over the years because pace is everything. If you've got someone that can bowl pace, I don't care what the format, that dugout just doesn't quite sit as comfortably as when someone's bowling at 80 miles an hour. You can see them all sat in the dugout. Yeah, I'm going to have a bat. As soon as someone's bowling quick, they don't quite edge to the edge of their seat. They're going to say, "Oh, is it me next?" "Oh no, oh no, can someone else go?"
But Harsha, how impressive has Ishant Sharma been? Because he's come in because of the impact sub rule. He's really enjoyed the impact sub rule, and he's come in and been very impressive.
I asked him about the impact sub rule. We do these pre-match interviews. I don't know if anyone watches them, but we do these pre-match interviews. And asked him about that. And he said, for me, it is the perfect rule. Because I'll bowl my 4 overs and I'll go and sit in. So this impact sub is actually allowing players like him to come into the game who are specialists now, single skill players. While it's affected the little bit of this and little bit of that, those all-rounder kind of players, you don't need them anymore. For someone like Ishant Sharma comes in, even if he finishes his 4 overs by say 12 or 13, you can actually sub him with another bowler who's good at bowling at the death. So, and he'll know those conditions so well. So it'll be good.
Michael, actually, Ishant Sharma also speaking about how he's used this downtime to get technically better. It's always so wonderful to see someone at this stage in his career still work on his technique. He said his wrist was falling a bit too much. He was getting tired very quickly, and that's something he's worked on. Yeah,
well, I know back home, Stuart Broad, when he takes a breather from the game, the first thing he does coming back into the game is go through technique. He spends about a week just going through the basics, getting his technique right. He has these cones he jumps over. You see them on the delivery. Jumps over this cone to make sure he's got the right gather. So I can completely understand what Ishant's trying. I think he went and bowled in the nets with the Ranji team just to get some overs in, get some kind of movement through the body. But yeah, technique's not everything, but I think there's always a small element of the technical side goes wrong when you bowl badly or you bat badly. So it's always worth going back to the basics.
Well, there is a little problem with Abhishek Sharma because they just don't know where to bat him. He's batted pretty much everywhere. I think at 5, at 3, at 2, at 4, pretty much everywhere.
I think he was looking forward to opening the batting. That's where he bats at Punjab. That's where he's had some success last year for Hyderabad as well. That's the Harry Brook situation, you see. Because they want Harry Brook to attack the new ball, means Abhishek's got to go down. It means he's playing a very different role. Now suddenly he's insecure. He's thinking, am I becoming a 10-ball batter? This is what I wanted when I sort of signed up here. Mayank Agarwal, the more experienced, they're saying, okay, you open the batting. So, I mean, as a player, you've got to make the best of what role is assigned to you. I mean, you're in the movies, you know that. Instead of, if you're given a 10-minute role, you don't say, sorry, I've only got a 10-minute role. You make the most of it.
And especially if you've had a big hit in the last thing, because the last season, he was a big hit.
I've never had a hit, so I wouldn't know.
No, highest score, I'm talking, not me, I have not had a hit either, but highest scorer for SRH. I'm talking about Abhishek Sharma. He was a hit the last season, so it's not fair to just put him down at 5 and 6 and say,
so it'll be interesting how they go. If Harry Brook doesn't get runs today, I wonder if they'll say, okay, come down again. You bat at 3. Maybe Rahul Tripathi is very versatile. He can bat at 4. Maybe Brook, you want to bat at 3. And let's send Mayank and Abhishek out to open the batting and see what happens.
But I do think, so the auction intrigues me because if Harry Brook would have gone for his base price, for instance, he'd have still come. He wouldn't have been under the pressure. And also, they wouldn't have considered moving him too far. But I think they're just trying to justify why they spent so much money on Harry Brook. Which it's just unfair, really. I mean, as Harsha said, it's nothing to do with him, how much the paddle goes up for. You're just a young player trying to do as best you can. But it does create problems when you pay so much because you feel that you've got to play them in every game. You've got to try and justify why you've paid that much money for them. So an Indian player, Abhishek Sharma, is probably feeling a little bit aggrieved, thinking, I'm missing out here because of how much they paid for Harry Brook.
I mean, Harry Brook's probably sitting there seeing that paddle go up and down, saying, how many Pret a Manger sandwiches is that?
I tell you what, $1.2 million goes a long way in Yorkshire.
I can imagine, yeah.
Well, there is a little update that Suyash Sharma has dropped Miller. They need 50 of 30. So we need to quickly do our prediction game because we've got an interesting game going on as well.
I actually won the last prediction.
Yes, so because...
You won the last one.
Do I get a well done the team for the team? Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm for the team, I'm just losing for the team, but we've got two winners for the team because Harsha got one right, Michael's got one right. Yeah. So let's go again on
Why
the
did you try and get one right?
I'm trying really hard. It's just not happening. I think I'll have to do like a little bit of research like Harsha does, pitch 6, pitch 4.
What pitch are we on? What number?
No idea.
What number pitch?
I have no idea. I'm following the other game. Miller's hammering. I'm following that game too.
Okay, so we should quickly do our predictions so we can actually go and follow.
167. It's 167.
167. Yeah, I was going to go about there. So yeah, I'll go 160.
160.
I'm trusting the pitch report, KP and Bish. So if we don't get it right, we'll in our post show say, KP, that's what we thought of your pitch report.
Yeah.
So 160, 167. I'm stuck. I'll just go with 171. I'm just going. It's just a tukka. We taught Polly and you the word tukka, so it's just a tukka. Let's see if
that's a guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a guess. So we'll see if the tukka comes right. But we are going to go and quickly see the end of that exciting match because it's a KKR GT match. You know what happens? It can go to the last ball. Anything can happen. That's where we are going to go. But don't forget to join us at the 10-over point at the Cricbuzz Combox.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೇ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন।